As IT leaders or builders, you have to enable your business to succeed across a wide range of products and services through the use of technology. But you're tasked with not just enabling one project team, focusing on one objective. You're tasked with enabling many project teams, focusing on many objectives, oftentimes all in parallel and with competing priorities. In addition, the business priorities are constantly shifting, so you have to be agile. And finally, if you do your job right, you have an opportunity to not just enable your business, but to create a pathway for innovation and experimentation. I'm Ryan, that's Han, that's Todd. And today we're here to talk to you about how you can accelerate your cloud operations at scale with a robust cloud foundation. And it starts with understanding the importance of your cloud foundation, why you should care about your cloud foundation. I believe you will find it is the antidote to enabling your business. It is the antidote to enabling many project teams focusing on many tasks. You also need to hear from a customer that has been on this journey before. What challenges did they face? How were they able to scale their cloud operations on AWS? And what were the design patterns that they used to succeed? And lastly, no matter where you are in your cloud journey today, you need a guided path. You need next steps to understand where you should go from here. AWS customers produce a wide array of products and services, from life-saving drugs, like those produced by Bristol Myers Squibb, to next-level multiplayer gaming experiences, like what Sony delivered with the launch of the PlayStation 5, where they reimagined multiplayer gaming for their customers, to Goldman Sachs, who was able to democratize access within their organization to third-party financial data. You find a high level of variability within the product and service set that AWS customers produce. But if you look within your own organizations, you find the same variability. Different use cases, different functional areas of your business, different KPIs, different metrics, different goals the business is attaining through these products and services. And if you go one layer deeper, the variance continues. The application architectures that support the use cases that are running, from a simple 3-tier web app to a microservices-based architecture running on an Amazon Elastic Kubernetes service, to a machine learning workload running and serving inference requests via SageMaker endpoints. Each of these application architectures has different functional requirements, different non-functional requirements, different metrics, different teams with different talents that they need to apply to build and successfully scale those applications. And so you see at the business use case, at the application level, you find this variability. But if you go just one layer deeper, you find common ground. Because all of your applications require networking, security, a way to log and monitor and observe those applications, a way to perform authentication, authorization, manage user identities, a landing zone, equipped with controls that define who can do what within that environment, a multi-account strategy to understand how you can group up your workloads into logical boundaries of accounts such that you can effectively scale and get visibility into your cost and secure your workloads. And perhaps most important, you need a strategy for your people and your process. Who does what when? And so this is the importance of your cloud foundation. Because when we start with the business use case, when we move through the application architecture, all roads lead here. And no one in this room would probably argue that optimizing your applications is very, very important. This process typically looks the same no matter what the application is. You're starting by learning about best practices. What does good look like? You then want to look at what you're doing. What am I doing? What's my current state? And then you're measuring, of course, right, between the current state that you have and the best practice in identifying gaps. And most important, you're then creating a plan to move closer towards that ideal state. If you do this right, you're creating a better user experience. You're creating a better application. But just like you can optimize a single application and reap the benefits of that optimization cycle, so too can you optimize your cloud foundation. But when you focus on your foundational environment, the effects are multiplicative. You're not only taking one application closer to a best practice state, you're increasing the optimization velocity for all current and future applications that you run on AWS. And so this is the key to unlocking a pathway to innovation. This is the key to accelerating your cloud operations. And what does this look like in action? Han, Senior Director of Cloud DevOps and Data Engineering at Bristol Myers Squibb, is now going to share with you his story, how he was able to lead Bristol Myers Squibb on a journey of implementing a cloud foundation that ultimately led Bristol Myers to accelerate their cloud ops and also accelerate the drug discovery lifecycle on AWS. Han, over to you.
Thank you. So I'm from Bristol Myers Squibb, and we use AWS and created this platform, which I'm about to show you, to accelerate our cloud development pipeline. Right? So a little bit about my company first. So if you don't know, Bristol Myers Squibb is a global pharmaceutical company, and we really use science and technology to solve the really hard problems, to save lives, to discover the new drugs that is out there that we don't know the mechanism of actions yet. So all this you've seen is a lot of people's work, right? And it's really thankful for everyone's effort and management for believing in this before we even started. But now that I'm here, I can show you the results and maybe help your journey to justify doing something similar. People and technology and science coming together, it's the center of what we do. So I'll start with the story, right? Probably resonate with a lot of you. If you have a cloud team, you probably have too much to do. You have to get all these requests coming in. People need more accounts. I need to support more regions, more services. Every project says they're number one. And you have to do all of this in a short time. So before we started creating an account, in fact, create triplicates of account because we have dev, test, and prod, takes a while. It took us, depending on the requirements, 2 months to 6 months to actually fully stand up something for projects. And all the projects coming simultaneously, we don't have enough time in a day. I hope this resonates with a lot of you, right? So you multiply all the requests, number of projects, number of regions, it just gets more. And then on top of that, cybersecurity always adds more requests, right? We need to check this, we need to add that. And so that's where we are. Right? There's not enough hours. Everyone's just too much. So you have to take a step back. You'll never find enough hours if you just keep working the same way. You have to change and do a little bit differently. So you have to make the time and find the time to do it. So how do we solve this? We actually create a platform. We call it the platform because people can self-service. And based on that, they can actually centrally manage their network, and then they automate everything. It is actually more than multi-account. You might have heard multi-account. What we have created here is actually adaptive cloud. It allows you to pick the cloud, pick the attributes, and let it fit your requirement. And you can change it in the future. So you see as I show you that. So the first step, enable self-service. It basically means that you take all the attributes about your project, right? Whether the environment, the cost, the team, what permissions you want, what kind of network, and you enter it according to what you believe to be true at the time. I say this because you can change it over time. So you fill in the attributes, and then the system will actually take that and give you an environment. And it's giving you multiple environments, in fact. And in fact, you have the flexibility to create a multi-layer architecture. So we have an automation that, on demand, will create the things that fit your project, right? This is the whole fit at the glove part. And then your project team can go ahead and flourish in this. And there's a lot more to this statement, and we'll take the time to actually go in. And these platforms that are created, they have platform types. They fit the requirement that you want, right? So, and we don't just run virtual machines in them. We run services. So all the Amazon services, even the new ones, you can run in these environments. So we're not just talking about a whole VM farm. This is not that. So each account that we create comes with a whole bunch of things. We enable service catalogs, right, which are individual components pre-built that allows you to run weeks of architecture that you have to do yourself in 20 minutes or less. You get to see more of that in the future. Each of them can be upgraded. We build in CI/CD pipelines into the account. We'll build in all the people and processes that we have in Bristol Myers Squibb, right? Everything's required for security. It's all built into that. And you can see that with this result, we have enabled operational self-service. We have enabled platform choices, but still stay within pre-approved modes, right? We have secure by default, but we have security by risk. So depending on your project, right, what you choose, you may not go to the extreme security, extreme lockdown, you might choose something else. This is risk-based. Like I said, this is adaptive. We have cost engineering built in. So when you use a service catalog or use the environment, all the best practice is already there. You can build it in such a way that nobody has to worry about it when they make an S3 bucket or make an EC2. It's already having all the optimizations in there. And here's the best part. You change your mind. You decide to try a new architecture. Make another layer. Try that new thing. If it works, that's your new enhancement. So that life cycle that you just heard Ryan said, it's actually practiced. You can change the entire architecture to a new thing. And maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but it's your option, right? So the best thing about this is when you spin up all these service catalog, you can see all the things we built in there. Things that you won't think of the first time you want to use a solution, right? But it has multi-AZ, failover, cost control, cross-region backup, all the logging that you ever want. And you can add these. And what projects get out of it? They don't have to go through so much security review. So if they use some of these, during the security review, they say, oh, okay, you're using this. I don't have to ask you 800 other questions about your TLS levels and stuff like that, right? And here's the thing. Kit providers, we call them, service catalog providers, they can make new versions. So as Amazon come up with new Gen AI capability, pattern matching, whatever, they make a new version, and whoever's using them, just like using a component from GitHub, get a new upgrade, and at their own choosing, and they can do that. We even have things that are conditionally available, right? You can make it so that some are only enabled when the account's of certain status. So all of this sounds really good, right? So I'm going to give you a secret that will save you a whole bunch of work, how to shortcut yourself. This took us a while to get there. So I'm covering some services, service catalog, and control tower. Some of you may have heard of it. So the foundation is actually control tower that allows us to create, govern, and it's the engine that provisions a new account and get them on their way, right? It creates things like landing zone and all the governance process. So if you're using multi-account, this is bread and butter. You have to start from here. So it creates all these structures, how you actually create the account, how you start off the bootstrapping. So if you're starting off, this is a good place to start, right? And highly recommend looking at all the components. We use all of them, and then some, really. So that's control tower, allows you to provision and out. But on top of that, if there's one thing you need to remember this time is stop using CloudFormation only, right? How many of you write a really good CloudFormation and then just email it out as zip files, or I put on S3 and just run it? If you are doing that, I'm giving you a better option. There's something called service catalog, or quote unquote, stop sharing your CloudFormation template. Because service catalog allows you to do all that said above, right, emailing out, but then more. You can parameterize your things, control, different departments can select the yes, no options. You can version them. So when someone runs your service catalog, and you can give a next version, to them it's just update stack. It really just becomes update stack, and they can downgrade. They don't like what you did, go back to the previous version. If you try to do this with CloudFormation, it's a lot of work, right? So service catalog, and how are we using it? We're not just using it one way. We like this so much, we're using it 3 times, you'll see it. So it allows you to create pre-configured compliance. So service catalog can have the core thing, right? Let's say it's an EC2, but you can add in constraints, parameters, or the security controls, tag enforcement, IAM. And then you'll see it. There's 3 things I want you to remember. Using it for Bootstrap, using it for governance, and using it inside the project. We'll get to these. These are 3 things you need to remember, right? So when you do service catalog, you're not just talking about atomic services anymore. So nobody builds regular Lambda. Nobody builds regular S3. In fact, if you actually think about it, if I make an S3 bucket, what if I don't have anything turned on? It will not be encrypted. It will be on the internet. All of these things you always worry about. Well, guess what? Nobody wants that S3. You always have a company standard you need to fall back on. If you use a service catalog S3, that's what people mean when they say that. Same thing for Lambda, API, everything, right? So at a glance, before I get into the detail, what we did is a portal where people can choose the application attributes that they want. They choose that, and if you see in the diagram on the left, there's actually a network diagram that shows them this is what you chose. If they switch, we give them a different diagram. This tells them this is the environment you're going to get and this is what you're running in, right? So they type in all that, they get all that account, and they can change their mind. They say, oops, I was mistaken. So once you have that behind the scene, how it works is actually the triplicate use of service catalog, right? The first thing is on the left-hand side. So when you launch it the first time, in fact, before you even use the form, we have something called Bootstrap. So in Bootstrap, we prepare the control tower and create a set of pooled accounts that's not used yet, hasn't been given out to people. But even in that stage, we are using service catalog to create staging logic. So logic that is true no matter what. Whoever's running staging will actually run this logic. But the reason I show all these versions here is because they can change over time. How many of you wrote logic that's true today and you regret it three years later? So staging logic using service catalog allows you to write something that makes sense now, but when you change it, you can upgrade it. So all the new accounts can come in as a stream of future. Then the user comes in and fill in the form, right? When they fill in the form, we actually launch service catalog again, this time during bootstrapping, because they told us what attributes they wanted. So this is where the adaptive cloud comes in, right? You told me you needed internet, not internet, this, that. We allow that to run through the service catalog, and based on the attribute they picked, it gives you the function that is in the application. But wait, there's more. It's versioned. So they have a platform version, and let's say you have a new release that can secure it even better. They can upgrade. And when they upgrade, they get that new feature. But you're not pushing over to them. They choose their outage window. They choose the test. They can downgrade if necessary. This gives you maximum freedom, but still keep within control, right? And finally, once they spin up the account, you're not done yet. We also provision service catalog as a product. So now, when they're provisioning applications, they can use service catalog again in the third context, which is creating all these assembly of kits. They put it together, they're versioned, they're upgradable. We can also track who's using what. We can actually see which kit's really popular, what attributes. So from a control management, it becomes much easier. So that's on the deploy use side, right? So I'm going to talk a little bit about what we use on each, but a lot of them are just repeating service catalog three times in different ways. So for example, right, during staging and bootstrapping, you're going to see different things being done. So during staging, we're doing things that you have to do regardless of whether or not people are asking for certain attributes, right? You're going to have to make ACM certificates. You have to stand up your DevOps buckets, set up some basic CI/CD, IAM roles and stuff. But when they chose what they want, you can now choose, based on what they say, whether or not you roll in DMZ, whether or not you're generating additional reports based on what kind of account they do. So that allows you, this list is not exhaustive, and I'm sure if you bring this idea back, you're going to come up with your own. But this allows you, and they're all versioned. So you can change your mind over time, add to the list. That's really the best part, right? So, and then you're able to centrally manage all your security and very complicated postures. You will see how we do that. Some really complicated concept just becomes checkboxes, right? So you know about DMZ, and you know about PII controls, right? But over here, when we actually enable those concepts, they're just checkboxes. Not every project needs to know about DMZ, and not every project needs to worry about data residency. But now they have an option to check it. Same thing for whether you're using a private subnet, all that stuff. So based on what they choose, certain things get deployed or not. When you deploy things, there's cost. But if you don't deploy them, there's no cost. So again, cost also comes in as a really adaptive posture. And we also control what you can do across accounts. So when people create multiple platforms, we want to know when one platform talks to the other. So we force people to actually say, declare your share, not a problem. What does this allow us to do? This allows us to actually monitor that if you accidentally share your data to somewhere you did not announce, we're going to tell you, I'm going to revert your changes. But if you correctly shared it and now you're doing it, we're going to tell you, hey, this is good. This is based on what you just shared. This allows you to declare and verify, right? Which is really valuable from a security control. You didn't just cut and paste a CloudFormation, just ran the wrong thing, right? We also use data residency checks, right? Control Tower already have a lot of things that can allow you to control where the data flows if you are subject to data residency controls, right? You can easily set up the guardrails that our checkbox do that, but we take it one step further. All the service catalog that you heard change their behavior depending on whether you run in the data residency sensitive account or not. You could have other controls if you wanted. Let's say in your industry, certain things used to behave differently. If you check that, it affects the service catalog control. This is the kind of power that we're talking about here, right? A few minutes on the dashboard, we're talking weeks of work. So data residency preventative controls. It controls what service and region you can run, whether or not the data is allowed to flow outside, what kind of account you can share with. All that is there, okay? On top of that, you get automated governance. You don't just get the technology side of the account, you get all the peoples and process. For example, we tell you, hey, you spent up some stateful things in the account, didn't look like you backed them up. Do you want them to be not backed up? You have to declare them. So we detect that and we tell the owners, please do something. They can just easily go in and tag them. We already have backup automations enabled. They want what kind of backup. They can set a budget alarm. They can say, I only want to spend this much money. And I actually want you to shut down my non-prod when I breach this amount. So they have that control to opt in. All this is code nobody has to write anymore, right? So we have automated fixing. Either I fix it for you, or I build foundations where you can automate and do it yourself. So we have, again, all these flexibility. This is what we did. You don't have to do it the same way, but you can see this opens up what you can do for the people. So the whole theme here is that we are actually multiplying your power. You're taking a little bit of central team, but you're multiplying it out so that everyone gets the same power, right? So it allows you to centralize all your intelligence so that everyone gets the same intelligence when they are on the get-go. I can tell you that this enabled us to move to a stage, and we're solving some of the new things that we're doing that wasn't possible. If you don't have this as a foundation, you won't be able to do some of the new things we're doing. For example, data mesh. Right, we're early previewers of the data zone that Amazon is doing. And data mesh really works very well when your consumer and your producer accounts are separate. You have many accounts, and you can actually flourish under the whole data mesh. While you can't have that experience if you're not really comfortable with multi-account, right? We allow for Sandbox and Explorer. You have no idea how much this helped our company, because the best ideas are the ones that you're not sure of yet. So you spin up an environment with least red tape, but you still have some control. You can't spend more than this amount of money. Try it out. 2 weeks, 1 month, whatever your POC cycle is. It might make or break or make critical decisions for you, right? So we easily allow that. And the reason this system is so good, because all these are service catalog, we can tear them down. So when they are torn down, the account goes back to blank. That's the best part. Cleanup is ridiculously easy. And then we also allow people to create microservices. Microservice works best if they're isolated and they can be a cell-like architecture. I'm sure you heard of that in some of the other talks. So now you can have multi-layer cell-like as much as you want. Control your blast radius. And finally, cost control. We all like to do cost control, but nobody really wants to do cost control. There's a lot of logic behind. This allows you to do the parts that you want and the parts you don't. It also separates out all the reporting so that people beyond the dev team can get the list of report they want automatically. And they can actually control and have weekly meetings. Hey, why is this like that? They can ask intelligent questions, right? So hopefully I've shown you what we can do with this platform, the adaptive cloud concept. But you might think that this is a lot to get started, but it really isn't. I'm going to hand off to Todd. It's really just a few key processes that you get started at the right time. If you get off on the right foot, you can see a lot of them are recursive. They repeat in a certain pattern. So if you do that, you'll be there before you know it, right? You don't have to build it all in one day. There are layers, and you can get started pretty quickly.
Hello, everybody. First, I'm going to zoom out a little bit and talk about what we mean when we say cloud foundation, how you can think about building out your cloud foundation, and I'm going to give you some resources that you can use as you're building. Hit the right button. So first off, what do we mean when we say cloud foundation? You may have all different types of workloads, as Ryan talked through, with different reference architectures, use different AWS services. When we say cloud foundation, we're talking about the things that sit underneath those workloads, things that can be centrally managed or automated, or, as Han talked through, pre-designed and pre-built. Things like network. You heard Han talk about how they were able to centrally manage their network and create service catalog products that provide network based on routing requirements and the security controls that they have in place. Things like security, whether you're applying security controls throughout your entire environment or to specific groups within your AWS environment based on compliance requirements. Things like observability, the centralization of logs or metrics, the ability to query logs and metrics and analyze the data. And things like identity. How do you provide access to your environment, and how do you manage permissions and work towards a least privileged environment? Below those functions, we have landing zone. The landing zone is the mechanism or method that you use to manage your cloud foundation. This is where Control Tower comes into play. You heard Han talk about how they use Control Tower. Control Tower allows you to apply controls, security controls, to your environment, but with tools like account factory customizations. You can use service catalog products, so you can manage your cloud foundation using infrastructure as code on new and existing AWS accounts. Below landing zone, we have multi-account strategy. Multi-account strategy is how you separate your workloads on AWS. What accounts are you going to use? How are you going to structure your AWS organization that supports the policies that you want to apply, automations, and your business processes? Now, as Han talked about, cloud teams, I'm sure you can all relate to as well. Cloud teams are overwhelmed with the sheer number of things that they're asked to do. In working with customers, we've identified 29 areas that customers need to solve in their foundation to open their cloud for business. We call these areas capabilities, and you can see them across 6 categories on the screen. By using a capability model, we can focus on the outcomes that we're looking to achieve in our cloud foundation. Not every customer needs every capability, and you certainly don't need every capability when you're starting out. So focusing on a capability model allows you to prioritize what makes sense to focus on first and iterate as you move along. You want to be able to start small and make good choices without fear that you're going to cause issues downstream or in the future. Capabilities also allow you to assign owners, determine who needs training, and it allows you to measure your cloud foundation so you can constantly improve. Now on the screen is an example capability path that our customers follow when they're building out their cloud foundations. And you could see some of the dependencies built in. We have capabilities that are highlighted. We consider these capabilities core capabilities, and you could think about it as the foundation of your foundation. You want to make sure that these capabilities are in good shape before you move on to the more advanced capabilities. At the top, you see governance capability. It's at the top because it applies across almost all of the capabilities. And then on the far left, we have identity management and access control. You need to determine how you're going to provide access to your environment. How are you going to manage permissions? Are you using a federation in your environment? Hopefully you are, or you plan to. Are you integrating with an existing provider? And below that, you have workload isolation. This is how you break your workloads into different AWS accounts and how you organize your AWS organization. What organizational units do I use? How do I vend new accounts? How do I decommission new accounts or old accounts? To the right one column at the top, we have tagging. Tagging is defining which tags that you will use in your environment that provide you the outcomes that you're looking for. And then how do you govern those tags? How do you enforce those tags? Tagging is an important capability because it feeds into multiple capabilities. You can see 3 of them on the screen here. We have tagging feeding cloud financial management. Whether you're doing showback or chargeback, or just trying to analyze costs to determine information about your spend, tagging can give you the additional metadata that you need, whether that's cost center or team or application, to be able to understand your cost. And then with cloud financial management, Han didn't talk through, he may talk through it a little bit. He's using Instance Scheduler, which is an AWS solution that uses automation that can stop and start EC2 instances and RDS databases based on a schedule that also uses tags. Tagging also feeds resource inventory. Resource inventory management is the ability to track your resources in your environment. What accounts are my resources in? What regions? Who owns those resources? Tagging gives us the ability to add additional metadata to those resources so we can analyze them even further. And tagging also feeds data isolation. You probably have sensitive data that needs to be protected. You can use tags to identify that data and treat it appropriately. And below that, we have log storage and observability. Are you centralizing your logs? Which logs are you centralizing, and how are you protecting them? Are you centralizing your metrics? How are you analyzing your logs and your metrics? Are you using alarms to alert whether you cross performance threshold or cost threshold? And almost every security capability that we have logs dependency. So you can see that log storage and observability feeds into security incident response and vulnerability and threat management. Vulnerability and threat management is the ability to scan your accounts and your environments for vulnerabilities and threats. And then security incident response is how you're going to respond to that. Are you going to use manual responses or automated responses? And last but not least, we have network connectivity and network security. Network connectivity is the ability to connect to the internet, to on-prem, between VPCs. Are you centralizing your ingress or your egress? And then network security, how do you ensure that it's secure? And who owns the network security capability? Is it the network team, the security team, or commonly a hybrid of both? So it's important to Han, Ryan, and myself that we really drive home the message that Cloud Foundation can be a force multiplier. You heard Han say that they were able to take 6 weeks of work and break that down to 20 minutes of work, which can transform a business. We want to be able to focus our innovations on our business value applications. Number 2, start small and iterate. By using a systematic process of building your Cloud Foundation, you can make those small changes up front without fear of causing issues downstream or in the future. It was important to Han to really get across. Obviously, he has a very elaborate architecture within their foundation. It all starts with one step at a time. And number 3, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Cloud Foundations is an established process. Many of our customers, most of our customers, follow Cloud Foundations. We have customers in all different industries doing all different types of things, but one thing that's common is Cloud Foundation. So please, I'm going to share some resources with you. Use our resources. Use the experience that other customers have gone through to build out your Cloud Foundation. The QR code that's on the screen is a link to our Cloud Foundation's GitHub repository. We have a resources markdown that has all of these links contained within it and more. But I'll talk through a few of them right now. The first one is the Solutions Library. Solutions Library has solutions built by AWS or partners that are vetted that you can deploy in your environment to help you solve for different use cases. We have a Cloud Foundations domain in that library, and in there we have Instance Scheduler, we have a solution called Automated Security Response, we have Quota Monitor, network orchestration with Transit Gateway, and we also have guidance in the Solutions Library around the capabilities that I talked through. The second one, we have Cloud Foundations Accelerator. We use a well-architected tool, which is in the console, and we have a custom lens for Cloud Foundations, which focuses on the core capabilities that you can use as a checklist as you build out your Cloud Foundation, and it provides the context of why you're doing each one of these things, or you can use it to measure your environment. And number 3, we have the Cloud Foundations Acceleration Day workshop, which is a workshop that is designed to walk you through building out your Cloud Foundation. And last but not least, we have the Reference Architecture Center, which has the reference architectures of the capabilities and also has additional decision points that you can go through as you build out your Cloud Foundation.
Yeah, thank you so much, Todd, and thank you so much, Han, for sharing. And thank you all. Yes,